There you go.
All right, this is the Monday, January 25th, 2021 Housing Advisory Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the December 21st, 2020 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
There's just one little thing that needs to be corrected.
Okay, hang on. We got motion to approve that a second, then we can take the correction.
Sorry. Okay.
So moved.
Glenn moved and second.
Second.
Okay, Shauna. Okay, now Nicola, what's wrong?
Sorry. Just where there's mention of Tara Ramsey, that program is HCRP, not HARC.
HCRP.
Yep.
Okay, it will be corrected.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so as corrected, can we have approval of the December 21st, 2020 meeting minutes? Jason? Or do we need Glenn, do I need another motion for the correction?
I mean, it won't hurt.
Okay, could I have another motion to accept the correction of the December 21st, 2020 meeting minutes?
Yeah, so moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, and now roll call, Jason, Glenn, Shauna, Nicola,
Yes.
me, yes. Okay, they have been approved as corrected. Moving on to new business. Residential projects in the pipeline, Sam and Shauna.
Well, actually Sam's spreadsheet, if you guys saw it, did a really good job of outlining like what developments are in what stage and then how many units it would provide for the city. Planning did in its last meeting go ahead and like recommend for approval the Lake Forest Phase 1. I'm looking at notes here. I believe that was 32 units or 36 units. And then Sam, one question I did have about your spreadsheet. I thought in planning next month, we were going to look at Phase 2, like on the other side of Lake Forest. So I didn't see that on your spreadsheet, but I believe that's coming up.
Yeah, it's called South Forest Edge. They didn't call it Phase 2.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it.
Just use the term forest to keep you on track of where it is.
Okay, great. So that was on the spreadsheet. And so that's coming up for next month as well.
Now, when this says no sewer, does it mean that the city has got to run sewer to it, or that the developer is going to do the sewer lines?
So there's none there, so it's up to the developer. I don't think the city's going to volunteer to do it unless the city council has an extra $1 million laying around. So probably that would be the developer's responsibility. About 95% sure. I just thought that would be helpful for everyone to be aware that just because a development gets recommended or approved doesn't mean it could be built. There's some obstacles there.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about the spreadsheet and or further information about the developments? Okay. Moving on to the old business. Item A, transitional housing cold sheltering update, Nicola.
Yeah. Okay. So the two families that were in transitional housing are still there. And we are still working with them. We have not succeeded in finding a big enough house that is also affordable. So they're still there, and till they find something or we find something for them, we'll have them continue to live there for some more time. The cold shelter is still functioning at full capacity. We had one client move out into housing this weekend, And we have another one coming up the following weekend. So we're really excited, especially for the other one, because sorry, he's been chronically homeless for several years. And so for him to have housing and to find housing has been great success. So he will move out this weekend. And then we're having 2 families move in tomorrow. So the plan is still to continue the shelter till the end of February, the cold shelter, and then continue to support families case by case, or as they come to us, or as we hear of those needing shelter with hotel stays at the Budget Inn. But it's not going to be run like the cold shelter in terms of the long duration of the stay. We were doing hotel stays even before we started the cold shelter, but it was, typically for a few nights or a week maybe, and then we would try and we continue to work with people to find housing, but and then also worked with other shelters to see if people could be moved there if they had a spot and we didn't. So that's the plan. We've had quite a few successes with the cold shelter, with people finding housing, but we've had some challenges too. And I think nearer the end of February, we'll have a chance to sit and discuss and see, what those challenges were, how we could have addressed it differently, so on and so forth. But yeah, even though the like booking rooms, right from November till the end of February, all these 6 rooms have been booked. But we won't do that come March, but we'll continue to support families if they need hotel stays, and then work with other shelters, work with the transitional living community, because they do work with the homeless population too, or with Tara Ramsey at the HCRP program. So yeah, that's the update.
Great. Questions for Nicola? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, item C, 2021 goals discussion. Updates, revisions, reports for members. All right, let's pull out the goals, which Sam, as usual, was very kind to send to us again. All right, so the first, Western Knolls. Sam, you're probably the only one with knowledge about that at this point.
Unfortunately, yes. There's a lot of kind of back and forth, and the only reason I say unfortunately is because there's a lot of confidential, kind of proprietary stuff that we're just kind of waiting to work through. I will say that the Episcopal Retirement, they are actually compiling a separate application for another community that's due February 1st. So we've tried to kind of, on behalf of City Council, give them some time to get that done. And then we expect that we'll be able to work out the details and have a purchase agreement in front of council within the next couple weeks. At this point, we're just kind of debating the details of timing of when the application is submitted for Planning Commission review, because we would like to hold them to a timeline instead of just having it vague. But it's going okay. It's just a very large project, so there's a lot of attorneys and different folks involved, and then the senior center part of it would come after this. So that's only 10 of the 47 acres, though. So I think if you remember from the previous discussion of, even if this does work out, which looks like it will, that still leaves 30 plus acres that you may want to continue to advocate for diversity of housing types and not just selling it on the open market. So I think the way that I heard the discussion and the way that we did the wording, I think it would allow for that.
Yeah, I heard today on a report that the new, as yet unconfirmed HUD head, who's from Cleveland, which is very handy, is looking to increase the amount of low-income funding, the special projects funding that I think ERS is looking to get in on. I don't know that that would work for the 2021 year. It might be for 2022. There's an acronym for that, Sam. It's L something?
They call it LIHTC,
Yes.
the Low Income Housing Tax Credit. So
Yeah.
LIHTC.
Yeah, so she's looking to increase and to have more of that in the pot. So maybe that will help development for low income. That might be good.
So yeah, if you're happy with the wording and the order, I kind of put these in order of what I thought would be the most logical to continue accomplishing, either because they're the closest within they're already in progress, or it's not going to take a lot of additional staff time to make sure these things happen. So they're kind of in that order. So that's why that one's first.
Good, okay. Terrific, thank you, Sam. Okay, so this number 2, is that Jason and Nicola, is that yours?
I think.
Yeah, that was the wording that I think I borrowed from Jason, and I just put it on number 2 since the program is already up and running. We're just kind of evaluating it, and I think the hope from at least some of city council members is to potentially make that more of a long-term thing. So if that's something this group wants to advocate for, you definitely want to have that high on your list.
So who's doing the evaluation, Sam?
I don't know. It's probably somewhere between Jessica and Doug and I. Just kind of staying in touch there. I'm not sure if there's going to be a written evaluation or if it's more just we're providing updates to city council and then just basing it on the feedback and then going from there. I don't think it would be a real lengthy evaluation because it's an existing program that's happening right now.
Would you be working with Brad on that?
I wouldn't be. It probably would be Jessica because she's been the contact, kind of working under Doug, and then so between Jessica and Brad. That's the last I checked. That's how it was working.
Yeah, and I mean, we definitely have to do an evaluation at the end of it. So on all fronts, strengths, challenges, and the affordability and all of that. So yeah, I mean, I would think that we'll be definitely doing an evaluation, and then I'm sure Brad and Jessica will connect. So we haven't talked about what the evaluation is going to look like. Sorry, Jason.
No, I cut you off because I thought you were done. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I agree with all that. Like, it's the nature of it was pitched as a pilot program.
Right.
So of course it was going to come back to us for consideration. And so a lot of what Nicola and Brad know, I think, is going to come back to us and for council in general, but hopefully, we'll be involved in that too. I don't think it'll be a super strenuous empirical dive in other than the statistics they already keep on who they serve and how much it costs and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, number 3. Glenn, is this you?
Yeah, it is. But the update that I have, I'm not sure if it ties in directly. So I spoke with Miami CIO about what I call a talent pipeline. And it's basically just getting people into Oxford and live here that are of professional working age, whatever you want to call that. And then he gave me an anecdotal example of an individual that moved in near him who is an Amazon warehouse logistics technology expert. And the guy can work pretty much from anywhere he wants to because of the new normal and the pandemic, working from home, specifically in technology jobs. you can pretty much work from anywhere that you want to. So we were just throwing back and forth some ideas where at least now there's a relevant saying where you can basically market, if you can work anywhere in the world you want to, why not here? So like, why not Oxford, Ohio? And pitched that to a couple of other people, and working on scheduling a meeting next week to see if we can't flesh that out a little bit more. My apologies, Sam, for not including you sooner, but be prepared for some communication coming to you in the near future. But yeah, I talked about it with a couple of people. It's still a relatively quiet thing right now, but since we're doing updates, that is my update, to attempt to get large technology company individuals to come to Oxford to work from home.
Okay. All right. So we're becoming more marketing oriented. We need to market the Western Knolls, and we need to market Oxford itself. Okay. So then is 4 also yours?
I added that one, Sherry, because that was something that was kind of an alternative that came out of the discussion that Glenn and I had, which is, okay, after we do this evaluation of neighborhood conservation overlay impacts, if it turns out that it's not a great idea, or it's potentially a bad idea to continue doing them to more and more neighborhoods, then what is an alternative going to be? And so 4 is a kind of the hypothesis of, okay, those are some things we could do that would help to curb maybe the negative outcomes that might come from more neighborhood conservation overlay districts. Or maybe there's a possibility to actually do both simultaneously. We just don't know that for sure.
Okay.
So that's what that one is. It's not real detailed, but that's a staff one that Zach and I have been talking about over the past several months. And we actually got some funding through AARP because of the A-Trend, the Oxford initiative, to get some consultant expertise. So we spent a little time talking with a consultant who specializes in accessory dwelling units. And as Shauna can tell you from Planning Commission, that conversation, and Jason too, was interesting because we had an ADU that went through the process, and it really wasn't for the purpose that ADUs were originally thought of, which is to have low-cost housing. This was an ADU for student housing. So definitely would increase density, which might have an eventual effect on housing, but not very direct. So we have spent a little time on it and would like to continue with that.
Great. Would it make more sense to make it 3A rather than 4?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, accessory dwelling units used to be called mother-in-law housing. And that's where they originally started, was someplace to put your widowed or divorced parent. Okay, item number 5. I cannot remember whose this one was.
So Shauna was I think the champion for this one, but I'm sure others are interested. And so I think this was some wording that we talked about, and Sherry, you had some suggestions too. So it's a merger of all of that together.
Great, terrific. Shauna?
Yeah, I can update a little bit. I did get a hold of Doug, as Sam suggested last month. And he claimed he didn't know what report you were talking about, Sam, but anyway, he did say that their office is then creating an ordinance right now that will eventually get in front of council as far as having a tax on transient guest lodging. Currently, they're not planning on like writing it up so that it goes to specific funds or to like the Housing Trust Fund. But he said that would be something discussed like in council while they were talking about the ordinance. So I think that as the Housing Advisory Commission, we need to really advocate for some or all of that 6% tax to be put either in the Housing Trust Fund or other projects that will help with housing. What I said to Doug in my email was that, unlike hotels, housing stock is actually affected by having transient guest lodging. So I guess we just need to keep that on our radar to see when that's going up in front of City Council.
Yeah, and can we rely on our 2 city council members to help us push our ideas forward? Thank you so much, guys.
I will say, just for you two city councilors and for Shauna too, that the wording you probably want to use is new lodging tax that is not from hotels. Because it's probably gonna, if council does pass it, the revenue would probably all go in one bucket. And so you probably need to ask city manager whenever it comes time to try to have a way to filter out what is not coming from hotels. And everything else is probably going to be from transient guest lodging, if that's what your goal is. But if it's not, that's fine. I'm just trying to help you with the kind of the internal workings of city operations.
So from an administrative standpoint, technically PGLs are supposed to register with the city. Is that correct?
Right.
So my point being, like, administratively, we're gonna have a list of the TGL versus hotel. Like, it's gonna be easy to figure out like what's coming from what source.
That hasn't been decided yet. I think it comes down to if we want to hire an outside firm. I think I mentioned this a few months ago that they track the transient guest lodging uses. So just because you register for the city because you're allowed to do it doesn't mean that you have to remit taxes because you may not have anybody stay. So there's an outside company that tracks those transactions, and then you can pay that company a subscription fee to then basically squeal on people. And then a letter goes to them saying, we see that you've, had this many transactions in the past year, you need to pay your taxes. So, so there's that's going to come at a cost that the staff are going to have to decide whether that's a good idea or not, or just rely on the honor system. So the short answer is no. The registration alone is not going to be sufficient to cross-reference that compliance.
I mean, it
So-
seems like we want to delineate that on the front end rather than the back end anyway, I would think.
Now, Airbnb itself provides reports to municipalities.
Well, that's true, but that doesn't cover VRBO or the ones that don't use those platforms, which is pretty common in Oxford to just use Facebook. So from what I can tell, relying on Airbnb alone is not really a complete solution if we're concerned about compliance.
So would it make sense to do it on the honor system for a year with everybody knowing that should the honor system not be accurate, that there would be a future company that would be tracking them?
Definitely a judgment call. It's beyond me at this point.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, the increase in dwelling unit density. Is that, Scott, is that yours? You're muted, Scott.
I was working on the 2-acre parcel on Hester. That was what
Okay,
my project was.
okay, so that is, which goal is that?
I do not have it in front of me, so.
I think that's me, actually.
Oh,
Hey,
the,
Sam, you want to get together this month sometime?
oh, so that's you and Sam.
Sure,
Cool, we'll do that.
sounds good.
Thank you very much, Shauna. Okay, identify, publish at least 5 potential development sites that are feasible locations for low-cost housing developments, rent or purchase. Who took that one on? Nobody.
Well,
That
I
was
tried
one
to
that
find
Scott and I
something that was
talked
out there.
about.
There's only one parcel I could come up with. Well, other than a piece of the 47 acres. And the only one that is feasible right now that's available is the 2 acres on Hester Road. I did get a chance to speak with the folks who did the Habitat for Humanity and learned an awful lot on how they were able to fund the thing. Because the way this thing works, if I can expound on this, it's okay. The way this thing works is that this lady has 6 acres she was going to just give away back to the bank. Habitat picked it up, and they picked it up getting a grant from Oxford for 100,000, a couple 100,000 from the Hamilton Community Center. Habitat also, kicked in like 350,000 for infrastructure. I'm trying to make sure I got all this right. I was taking notes as fast as I could. But the deal is, first of all, they don't start building until they vetted someone and they have someone on board that can have the need and afford the house. And the house is, their first mortgage is basically, say, $100,000 mortgage, but it's a 0 interest. So that's how they keep the payment so low. Your payment is going to be like $280 on a $100,000 house. However, the way they help here is they also get donations from like Whirlpool. They donate washers, dryers, dishwashers, refrigerators. God, I can't think of the name of them. Square D, whoever they are now. The electric company, it used to be Square D. They donate all the electrical boxes. They got Corning to donate insulation. So in actuality, their actual money out of pocket is only about $60,000. So with the $60,000, they're actually coming $40,000 ahead. The people, and the way that they control for people not flipping them and turning them into regular homes, there's a second mortgage. And the second mortgage is the difference between the $100,000 home that they're paying on and the fair market value of that home on the open market. So those homes up there would probably be 125, maybe 130, give or take, somewhere in there. That's the second mortgage. The person lives in their home for 5 years, makes their payments on time. At the beginning of the 5th year through the 15th year, 10% of that second mortgage is erased. So at the end of the 5th, if they stay there for 15 years, year 16, they have no second mortgage. They have built their equity, which is the only way to, I did find out this is not a profit-making agenda. This is definitely donations, nonprofit, all the way across the board. I also was given some very good advice that the people who own this 2 acres, they have acreage behind where Somerville Bank is that they need access to. He said we should go to the owner and say, give us the land. And that's your donation to us, and we will put in the street, or we will find someone to put in the street, because you can't have an extra $100,000 or $150,000 price tag in it and try to make the numbers come out right. I don't know. It's a big, long learning curve. I'm sure I don't know near enough. But it is, at least it's a building block on how to go about it and what to look for. Now we need to find someone that can do it. And it may take a collaboration between the city and maybe starting up a not-for-profit to fund. Because the Habitat isn't going to be interested for a while. They still have 6 lots left. But the pattern and the practice might work there. So that's where I'm at.
So do you want to sort of brainstorm with Sam about some ideas that that might be doable? And does anybody have any ideas about nonprofit affiliations or something like that? My
Sure.
guess is that Steve would probably be a good source about this. So maybe the three of you could get together and talk about it.
Yeah,
He's not here today because he's in the process of hiring somebody, but yes, maybe over the next month or so, if you guys could have like a Zoom call and try to,
yeah,
come up
that's
with-
my only way. I'll be gone.
well, you won't be able to have Zoom at all?
I don't know. I don't know what what I have there. Honestly, I don't know what the accommodations are, other than I have I share a bed or have a bedroom to myself.
Okay,
So,
well, just keep the other two informed
Okay.
about how, and maybe you guys can get together sometime, at least, maybe just once before the next meeting, to just noodle some ideas around. Is that all right?
yeah.
Okay, I just volunteered Steve for something. He may not be happy with that, but he can always say no. Okay, so now we're at 8. In concert with goal 7, complete a report of alternatives for mechanisms. That's what you just reported on, correct?
Well, I added more to that. So this is
Okay.
kind of taking the idea you just mentioned and so I guess it could be 7A.
All right, well, 6A, because we're going back to the other one.
6A, thank you. Hey, the list is getting shorter.
Yes, hooray. Okay, you want to talk about that then, Sam?
I just to say that I really like the idea of the community land trust. And so I haven't done it yet, but I plan to call the Yellow Springs CLT. They've been around for 20 plus years, and just to see if they'd consider expanding here, kind of help us get started. I mean, that's a way for it to kind of get outside the city government, and actually you can get things done faster if you're not a local government. So that was kind of my idea there, but if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I mean, it could be something else, and maybe Steve has some other ideas for nonprofits, but that one seems to match the closest with our goals, because it does what Scott was talking about, where it's not a for-profit organization, and it even lasts longer than 15 years because the CLT owns the land, and you can't sell it unless the CLT approves it, and so then there's no time frame. It's not going to be flipped at all. So it's like a lifelong lease essentially, but you own it like a deed to a house. You can do what you want to with the house. So
Okay,
the three of us will talk and see if we can come up with anything else. And I'll call the one in Yellow Springs and get some pointers from them and see if they have any interest in having a offshoot to Butler County.
that would be great. Thank you ever so much, Sam.
Yeah.
Okay, in concert with the 2021-22 Community Strategic Plan, evaluate the feasibility of raising building height. Now, I know that this is something that Sam's been working on for a while. Did anybody else volunteer to help work with him on this?
Nobody did. I've just got Counselor Bracken supporting me. So
That's what I was about to say. I mean, I'm willing to help if I can.
All right,
Is this going from 4 stories to 5?
potentially, yeah.
Is this in response to Benji's thing?
Kind of, but we told him no, not for your property, but we might look at it anyway because of housing cost for the whole community, for not just the one property town. So yeah.
All right.
I support that as well. Are we talking about just in the Uptown District or the Mile Square as a whole?
Everywhere.
yeah.
Everywhere.
Is this, Sam, is this adding another level onto an existing building or allowing new building to go that high?
Allow new buildings to go higher than they've ever been allowed.
Okay,
Wait, let me back up again. So you're saying like in an R1 district, it can be 5 stories high?
No, my concept here is that every zoning district would just be allowed to be building new construction 1 story higher than what they're already allowed.
Okay, well, I do support that. I support all like more density is more housing as far as I'm concerned. So, from a planning commission standpoint, like I know that it'll have to eventually go there. I definitely support that.
Okay.
Can I ask where this Benji property is?
So that's the Follett's co-op
Yeah.
site. Yeah, there was an idea floated at one point to have a taller building allowed there. But just our history with litigation and just in general, it's not a good idea to allow one property owner to do one thing and no one else, because
Yeah.
everyone else is built under the guidelines as they're written. So our response was, well, we were thinking about looking at it on a larger area anyway. So yeah, it did prod the conversation, but it didn't really benefit that owner.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
Sam, on this point 9, you were just saying something about allowing everybody to go up one story. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, I didn't have the wording in there because like for Uptown, it might be 2 stories.
Okay,
So I didn't want to specify necessarily.
okay.
If you want to put that level of specifics in there, that's fine. That's not what I had in mind.
Well, if it gives us more leeway without it, let's probably leave it that way.
Yeah, I like that better.
Any further comments, questions, et cetera, on the goals?
I'm a huge fan of them.
All the goals?
I think I like all of them. Some definitely more than others, but I think I'm generally a fan. Yeah.
Okay, they've got Jason's vote of approval there. All righty. Okay, item D, member recruitment update. Sam, what have you gotten anything further?
We have 2 applicants and potentially a third, but I know the clerk has some other appointments that she wants to put in front of city council. So it looks like we'll probably have 2 seats filled here in the next few weeks. And that's just an update. If we get a third application, then somebody's not going to get seated, which is fine. We can always have them contribute or show up at a meeting, even if they're not an active regular member.
So with the restriction that the council put on us of somebody who does not live in the city is not a voting member, does it make, should we have 3 people to choose from, would it make sense to choose the people who are residents of the city of Oxford first rather than those who are not, or how would it go? Anybody want to contribute to that? Because we don't get to vote on them, just city council gets to vote on them. So I would sort of like to know how our city council people are feeling in terms of what you would be looking at in terms of preferences should there be 3 people.
Don't have any thoughts offhand. I'd have to see the specifics.
Gotcha. Glenn?
We're good.
Okay, so there's nothing that you would be looking for that would give a preference to somebody who was a member or was not a member as to whether they could vote or not.
I'm indifferent on all that.
Okay,
I've always viewed this organization as lightly structured. I understand we use Robert's Rules of Order, but that was because of some historical issues that required ending of certain conversations. Like that's been resolved. Now this is a far more relaxed environment.
okay. All righty. Well, Sam, is there a drop dead date for the third person? Make sure they have their application in?
Yeah, probably today, because if they're going to be on for appointment for, I don't know if it's going to be next week or the following. then, just need to have enough time for the clerk to get everything compiled. So,
All righty.
and I think what I recall is from the desires of the commission was to open it up to non-residents. Then that allowed people who weren't here that had expertise to sit on the commission. So I think that's really what it will come down to.
All right, that works. Okay, Sam and Shauna, Housing Trust Fund update? Oh, we talked about the lodging tax, did we not? Okay, been there, done that. Okay. Item F, housing needs analysis rollout, open discussion. Okay, Sam, I'm not sure what this is.
This is what you wanted to
Well, there
ask
we
the
go.
rest of the commission. Do we want to, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the study yet, but it's a long read, a lot of data in there. And I think I would like to go ahead and put it out on the website right now. I think it's in a form that, we've looked at a lot already internally. Sherry and Zach and I have all looked at it. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to go ahead and put it out there. But when it comes down to the PR side of it, do you want to pick it apart more first? We've got the consultant can actually do a little bit of slideshow with city council. We can try to do a joint work session between HAC and council and have him be the presenter. We could do it that way. It's such a long report and there's so much there. I don't think we should, I guess my suggestion is not to waste time with having a separate meeting where we just discuss that. So I can go ahead and schedule the consultant and see if the mayor and city manager can work out a work session together. If you want to do it that way.
I would love to have a work session on the document.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have one really quick question. I started to peruse the report. So I noticed that the report says that we have been increasing population in the city of Oxford, but Alan and Doug have provided us with information in the past that non-student age population is actually going down. So that's just a random comment I have, like which is it?
I pointed that out in my comments my comments had to go through the city before they were, I guess, sent to the Bowen people, and that comment was not sent on. So I have the same question as you do, Shauna.
But weren't they working off some fairly old Census Bureau numbers?
And I had a comment about that too. 2000 numbers are not at all useful. And we have a town full of data people. Why would you shove 2000 numbers onto people who are going to look at it and say, this data is way too old? I mean, it's before the housing crash.
Yeah.
So yeah, the population data looks at both student and non-student. And since Miami doesn't track where the off-campus students live, we don't have a way to separate that. So what we have is the best we can do as far as the numbers. Now, separating the two, yeah, that'd be great to have that. But since we don't have it, then I don't know that to me, it's a moot point. Yes, I agree that the non-student population is going down. Overall population's gone up because enrollment's gone up.
Wouldn't Miami be able to tell us how many people are enrolled in Miami and how many people they house? They
Yes.
would know those numbers.
Right, but then the
also know the
off-campus
numbers of
folks-
people who commute.
right, but they don't have data on the commuters as far as where they live because it's not required.
But then they know how many people fit the commuting criteria, like 30 miles away. Or is it all lumped in one?
It's all lumped into one.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so is it just me and Shauna that wants to have the work session, or do we have anybody else that wants to, Jason? That may not be enough for the city to agree. Nicola, you would like to see it?
Sure.
Okay. All right, what do you think, Sam? Is just the fact that the four of us want to see, I mean, Steve might, he's not here. Do you
Well,
think that would be,
I mean, just because we want to do it doesn't mean it will happen. We will give it a good try. We've got the time set aside with the consultant, but, council has a lot of demands and staff do too. So, that's an hour of time out of everyone's evening. So we'll give it a good shot. We'll go ahead and publish the report regardless on the website, so I think that's a given. And we'll try to get it done in February.
okay, because, you've been suggesting for a while that we might be able to do this, so it would be good. It would be good if we could actually do it. That would be just helpful. Publishing it and maybe we'll get comments from the public too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for trying, Sam.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
anybody? Yes,
Sorry, I just wanted to ask a question. So am I good to also share that publicly? Because there are definitely portions that I wanted to put out there.
Yeah. Why don't you let us put that on the city website, and then you can share the city website link for the download, because it's just on Google Drive right now.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
I
Thank
was
you.
probably going to take screenshots too of some of the more interesting portions.
Sure. Go ahead.
okay. Any further news, business, something new that somebody's brought up? Scott, how long will you be gone? Do you have any idea at all? You're muted again, Scott.
Didn't hear that, did you?
No.
It's going to be through the month of February, maybe first week in March too.
Okay,
I guess it depends on how well she does. And
well, we'll miss you for a month, but at least we're not looking at 6 months.
I'm going to go start craving mad. That's what I'm going to
You'll
do.
be in
'Cause
New
I
York
can't go
City. I have no sympathy for you.
I can't go anywhere now for the next 10 days.
Yeah. All right. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Jason, thank you. Do I have a second to Jason? Shauna's coming in with the second. Okay, roll call. Jason,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Shauna,
Yes.
Nicola,
Yes.
and Scott.
Yes.
And me, yes. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for doing what you did for this week. It was very good. Thank you, Sam, for putting up with us and for coming up with all this great language on the goals. And we will see everybody next month, which will also be a week late. Correct, Sam?
Yeah, actually, I forgot to ask you about that. Would there be any possibility of moving it back to the week it was going to be, but having it on Tuesday instead of a Monday? So it'd be the same day as council, essentially.
Well, it certainly works for me. How about our counselors? Are they gonna?
It'd be 1:30 on the 16th.
I think that would work for me, but I'll let you know if I realize something otherwise.
Okay, I'll put it out on email. That way Steve's on the loop.
Okay. Glenn, is it okay with you? Okay, good. All righty. Thank you all very much for this and look forward to seeing you next month. And I think we just have a couple meetings that people need to do to catch up on things. So if there's anything that you need me for, let me know. Okay, take care, everybody. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.